Hey everybody, welcome back live at Drew's house, Joppa Afternoon Drive. Hope you're all doing well. Hope September is doing well for you. September also means kids are back to school. It also means fall sports. And with that, we're joined again by a longtime friend of the show, Kyle Hodsdon's here, the athletic director at Newburyport. How are you, my friend?
I'm doing great. We're opening the fall season, so a lot of optimism over there.
What'd you do with my summer? The summer went by so quickly, didn't it?
Well, it feels like summer lately around here. So
I know, it kind of is. September is kind of a beautiful month around here. But you also feel football in the air. We had your football guys on already for a show. They were fantastic. Thank you for shooting me some good captains this year. I appreciated that.
Sure, yeah. I mean, high hopes for the football program this year. I know we had great senior leadership and a lot of good returners coming back. And, you know, this is the 100th year of the Thanksgiving game with Amesbury as well. So
yeah, they were already talking about that, those boys. They like that rivalry.
Dedicating the season to Coach Stalen.
Yep.
So it's a big year, and it's a chance for them to make their mark. History of Newburyport football.
Yeah, no doubt. Those guys are kind of, we'll stick with football for a second. I noticed those guys were kind of well-versed with the history. They mentioned that their Coach Smolsky, kind of like, he's a Newburyport guy, likes to dip into the history and talk about alums and former players and that stuff. And I don't know, that for whatever reason, that was connecting with that group of guys. They mentioned it a lot on the show.
Yeah, it's a culture. And Ben Smolsky, our coach, played here. He's a true Clipper, and as well as members of his staff, but they ingrain that in our football players every single day. And it's obviously a strong football tradition here, and Ben does a great job educating them.
How was the, as far as coaches go, football, I know when you got here it was a little different. You guys had some turnover. At least I think that was the timeline. I've known you for a while now. I'm trying to remember. It's been going back a little bit. But they have some nice consistency as far as the head coach goes with football now. How is the rest of the Newburyport fall coaching layout? Did you have to go searching at the beginning of the year? Or?
No, the fall is intact from last year.
Wow, okay.
Great, and that's pretty typical anyway. We just had one field hockey change last year who was an interim. Shannon Haley was now our permanent head coach. And you know, the spring's going to have a little work to do in the spring, but for the spring coaches. But the fall are experienced and successful, and they're actually looking forward to this season continuing, you know, what they've built the last few years.
Yeah, no doubt about that. The who was that? Was that Jess DeLacy before the field hockey?
Yeah, Jess DeLacy, Jess Philbrick, yeah.
Okay, yeah, Philbrick, yeah, that's right. The always good teams at Newburyport. You guys had that award there from the with the Globe. I forget what the actual one was, but you guys had like the encompassing best school for sports thing. What do they call that?
We've had that 2 years in a row, and in fact, the last year's winner will be announced soon. So there's. You know, there's a chance it could be 3 in a row.
Oh, so they're always behind like that. And you guys had some great teams again, right?
Last year was pretty much unprecedented. You know, it was really amazing. So, but we're looking forward. We're not looking back. And we're letting this year's seniors and the captains, this is their time to shine, and it's their group, and hopefully they can make their mark.
But I guess what you hope for as the athletic director, right, is that every great team has great senior leaders or captains, whatever. And I guess you hope they pass off those leadership skills to the seniors, to the juniors, and then the underclassmen are getting it. So that's the culture that develops, right? That's how you hope to build.
Yeah, no question in it. And you know, success breeds success, whether it's winning or not. But that's the expectation, and we've been really fortunate, especially since COVID, but even before a little bit. Our senior leaders have been exceptional, and they've led by example. And so the underclassmen, they've kind of absorbed that. Yeah. And that's the expectation of how to act, how to perform, how to train in season and out of season. And nobody wants to fail. So there's a little bit of pressure to be as good as we can be. So yeah, it does start with our senior leaders. It's really difficult to have a successful program or team without that senior leadership. Yeah. So, knock on wood, very fortunate around here.
We talked a little bit about football. The football guys, I did like their. It certainly was not cocky, but I did like. They had. I remember calling one of their games last year, and who was it? North Reading was really good. They kind of one of the best teams in the state.
They won the state championship.
Yeah, they won the state championship. So you guys played host to them, and they had a kind of Newburyport had kind of a rough night with them, but. I remember as I started talking about that game, one of your guys goes, "We're better this year. We're going to be good."
Yeah.
And I just liked that kind of quiet confidence, I guess, is what it was.
And they should be confident because they worked hard in the off season.
Yeah.
And they had the last 2 years we've played up a division against schools that were larger than us. And in a sport like football, it is an important factor. And we did make the playoffs in those divisions, and now we're where we should be in the correct division. We're mostly healthy as a program. We have a couple just coming back.
Yep.
And like I said, they worked hard, so there's no reason for them not to feel confident. And watching them in practice, they're upbeat, there's enthusiasm. They're really looking forward to each Friday night.
Cool. So we got football gets a lot of the headlines because it's football and Friday Night Lights and it's a big show and all that, but you guys always have all these great teams. What else? What's flying under the radar? Or maybe not under the radar is the wrong term, but who else are you excited about here in the fall?
Yeah, there's nobody under the radar.
Yeah.
I mean, every one of our teams, not talking about last year anymore, but we lost 16 games all fall last year.
Yeah.
So they all...
You're not sneaking up on anybody.
Right, and just to start the season, everybody started the season strong, and even a sport like golf, who might not get a lot of publicity, they just continually outperform their opponents, and I could go sport to sport, and all are in contention, or will be in contention, to win the Cape Ann League, but also be a highly ranked team and compete when the state tournament comes around.
Yeah. Cape Ann League is a little bit of a different Cape Ann League than when I first came around here. You guys have had some changes. Who just joined?
Essex Tech.
Essex Tech, okay.
And it's Essex.
Danvers School.
Yes, it's actually Essex Tech Week for Newburyport. That's the first week of the season is Essex Tech Week. With football and volleyball, so we're able to welcome them, to the Cape Ann League.
Yeah. How about volleyball too? Because I remember when volleyball started here, I remember a couple of the student athletes came in and they talked about wanting to start the program. I think they had to literally knock on your door and you were open to it, which is always nice when an athletic director is open to those things. But I forget how it all played out. But I do know that volleyball was kind of a new creation here as far as the Newburyport squad, and what a thing that's turned into.
Yeah, sure is. 2017, it was a club program.
That's all it was, huh? 6 years ago. Yeah.
Then we had 4 teams within our program, and it was so new. But the plan was to be a club for a couple of years, and then be a MIA varsity sanctioned program. But after the first year, we were successful immediately, and we were encouraged to go MIA sanctioned immediately, which we did, and we slowly progressed. And Sidney Yim, who was the Gatorade Player of the Year in the whole state, part of our program, really elevated our program. And then, last year we, for the second year in a row, we won the Cape Ann League, and we advanced to the state Final Four in that sport. And if people haven't had a chance to watch it,
exciting.
I mean, there's a point every play. So it's exciting and very athletic.
Yeah. I tell people that about tennis too.
Same thing. Same thing.
It is. That's great that Newburyport got. I never had volleyball when I was in high school either. So it's completely. It's a cool thing to have that. What is your? I don't know. What's the? I know I said flying under the radar, and there's no teams flying under the radar because you're wearing that badge of success across your chest. But what is any student athletes that you're just people are gonna say, wow, that's somebody who really did the off-season work, or where did that young freshman or sophomore? Is there any stories like that individual wise?
Yeah, I'm not sure. I think there's going to be several that will be in contention for our.
The track teams are always incredible.
In each sport, there will be people who will be in contention for the league player of the year.
Okay.
So we have exceptional student athletes here.
Yeah.
And one or two on each team that are just that much better than some. But we have our starting groups, our first groups, our top golfers, our top runners. It's a pretty good situation that we're in right now.
It's an exciting time of year too, isn't it? Your fall, it's like a clean slate. I mean, I know you guys had a great ending to, last year, and you had a great school year last year as far as sports go, but it is kind of, every athlete likes that. They like that clean slate and to show they put in the off-season work, and here's our chance to kind of paint that picture now. It's an exciting time of year, isn't it?
It is. It is for teachers as well.
Yeah, good point.
We have a unique profession where there's always a start over.
Yeah.
And after 10 months, people need the break to start over.
Yeah.
Athletes included, but there's the juniors now are seniors, and I met with the fall captains the other day, and it's an entirely different group than we had last year.
Personality-wise, or
no, people because
People-wise,
now
okay, yeah.
the seniors who are captains are gone.
Right.
It's now their time.
Yeah.
And that you can sense like they know the history, they know the success, the tradition, and it's their turn to be that leader.
Yeah.
And we put a lot of, not pressure, but a lot of emphasis on their role, and knowing that the positive experience really it starts from them, and the coach builds off that. So there's definitely optimism. It's great to start new.
We've talked a lot about culture and how hopefully a lot of that stuff gets passed down. But when you do have different people, when you sit down with those different captains now, it's a whole new group. You probably see some similarities from other leaders because there's just traits that carry over. But is there also a whole different, this is a different group and they have their own vibe, their own presence, this is their thing. They have it's a little bit different, right? Just the different personalities, even though it's the same culture.
Yeah, and I think that was more evident maybe 5 years ago.
Yeah.
But now it's a culture has been set by the leaders, by the coaches, and they come in and they assume that role, and the bar is high, the expectation is high, and we're living up. They're going to live up to that, and they might, have their own tweaks and their own personalities, but ultimately they're going to work hard. They're going to be good leaders. They're going to be good role models. Not only are they performing, on the field or in the athletic venue, but our student part of the student athletes it's exceptional how we perform. And then we did win the Highland Award in the Cape Ann League, which is sportsmanship, and it's community service, and it's academics, and it's participation, and overall winning percentage. But I have photos on our Instagram and Twitter where after a Friday night football game on a Saturday morning, we'll be here for a field hockey game, for an example, and the boys soccer team will be over in the bleachers where the students sit with bags cleaning up after the night before. So without being asked or prompted. So that's the type of student athlete, that's the type of leader that we have. We have something that we call sweep the ship. This is the second year we've emphasized that. The Clipper ship, we take care of our ship, whether it's picking up after ourselves or just taking care of it in general. Yeah. And on Friday night after a football game, 60 to 80 players on the bench and tape and a lot of things that happen. By the time that football team goes into the locker room and I come back to that area, there's no evidence of a football game being played. Yeah. And they just take care of what's supposed to be taken care of, and it's a foundation, it's a mindset, and we build off that.
I think it sounds weird maybe for the high schooler to think of it in this term, but when you're like a fifth grader or sixth grader or something, these kids are the high school football. Those are like idols to you. Those players, it's like almost like a celebrity to you in town. And I was thinking about that. I think it was last year. A couple of your football kids were downtown, and just a coffee shop, and I noticed an older woman was coming through, and just one of them went out of his way to make sure he got the door, or just very simple act, right? But just definitely went out of his way to get the door for this older woman who was struggling. And I go like that. I mean, that's any teacher, any coach, any leader would say that's what we need you to be. That's the community, out in the community, just doing a good thing. People see that stuff. Nobody knew I was there watching, or I was going to talk about it on the radio someday. It was just a nice thing to do. Right. Yeah. And you're representing your school.
That's the character that we have. They're learning it at home. They're learning it in the classroom during the day. Yep. And obviously our coaches are instilling that as well. Yeah.
You love your coaches. I know you love this coaching staff. I know it's not always the easiest thing finding a great batch of coaches. It's just, it's hard. It's hard to find really good coaches, and you somehow have been able to do that the whole time you've been here.
it's very difficult to find coaches, period. It's even harder to find good coaches.
Yeah.
But we have, and I say it any chance I get, we have the best coaches.
Yeah.
And not just head coaches, but assistant coaches. We have many assistant coaches who were head coaches somewhere else.
Yep.
But I'm old enough, I've been enough places, so I can say that.
You're a coach yourself.
Yeah, and we are very fortunate
Yeah.
to have the people leading our student athletes that we have. And, it's when we have a position that opens, we have great candidates apply because of the history, the tradition, what we have going on. People want to come to Newburyport, and so it's a culture.
The coaches are one of those. I mean, I know it's not an easy job. First of all, like it's not always the most glamorous job coaching. Sometimes, a lot of them are teachers. Most of your coaching staff teachers.
Not as much as in the past.
Oh, really? Okay.
We're about half and half. Yeah.
It does make it easier when you're in the school, right? Just
Absolutely.
But I mean, and think about that. Think about working your normal job, and then everybody has bad days at their normal job, right? And then goes and maybe it's a tough week on a coaching field or whatever, getting ready for a tough opponent. Maybe it's just been a tough practice like that. This has come up on this show with you and I before. Coaches aren't doing it for the money, right? They're doing it because they love the kids and they love the process of getting through a season. And your coaches all kind of give off that vibe. We're here because we love it, and I always like that.
Yeah. Coaching is like an extension of the school day.
Yeah.
It's part of the school day. It's not separate.
Yeah.
So that the coaches who are in the building during the day, I'm meeting with them, they're meeting with the students, and then at 2:42, they change their clothes and they're still meeting with students, and it's like the sixth block of a school day.
Yeah.
The coaches who are outside the building, it's a little more difficult because they don't have that access, but they're still communicating and working and then joining us after school. So
I think coaches realize this too. I know you probably did when you used to coach athletics, but like I know for me, my best coaches in life, like that, they had left lessons with you, memories, whatever, that you always remember. Like I remember things that coaches told me that I still carry into adult life, or I'll be teaching a tennis lesson right now, and my baseball coach that year, really, this is a message that I use in tennis lessons. It's just like coaches just have it's different than teachers. I think they're doing the same thing essentially, but you have your favorite teachers, I think, sometimes, and then you almost always have a favorite coach too. They just come at you from different angles, and you take pieces of those things. Do you always find that, like, you remember your favorite coach back in the day?
Oh yeah, and a lot of things that maybe I do now were formed somehow by something that happened, and you take the good and maybe something that didn't work, and you put it together and you form your own way. That's.
Do you think all coaches realize how impactful they are on students, especially at the high school level?
No, and in fact, one thing I say at the beginning of every coaches meeting is the greatest titles are mom, dad, teacher, coach, and I always say I miss being called a coach because of what goes with that. And we talk about, as a group, like enjoying it in the moment, not after I appreciate it more now than when I was in the middle, because I'm worried about X's and O's and strategy and what we're going to do, and but that's just part of it,
Yeah. I think I've asked you this before. I am always, somebody who knows, you're a sportsman, so you know all these games, and a lot of these sports, the sports you've even coached before. Are you ever watching these games and wondering to yourself, like, I wonder, what, maybe I would have pinch hit here, or maybe,
Nope, never second guess a coach, because, and I joke about that, but then I'm also serious, because our coaches do things for a reason. Mm-hmm. So I will sometime wonder why they do that, but I don't question them, because I know that they did that because there was a reason they did it, even if it was unconventional.
I like it. All right.
And just back to your point about how much impact a coach has. You'd probably seen stats about, after 12 years old, a coach or a teacher has more contact time with a son or daughter than a parent does.
Yeah.
And, so that's, and I look at wasn't sure I really believed it. And I look at my kids and I'm like, well, wait a minute, someone else is with them now, and I'm with someone else's kids, and so it is a very important role. And in fact, it's probably the number one responsibility that I have at Newburyport High School is hiring the correct coach, because that takes care of the other things. To take care of our student athletes.
I mean, if it does go the other way, you're lucky to, I think you bat a very high percentage and getting the right coaches in there. But I think we've all probably in life played for maybe not the best coach in the world. And I mean, I've seen great athletes be turned off from sports, especially at a younger age, not necessarily high school. High school is a little bit more of that business-like approach, but especially at younger ages, it's you can't be a point guard because you're too tall. You got to play center in basketball. It's like, well, let's think outside the box a little bit. That was me, right? I was a tall kid. I grew early, and I was like a passer. I like to have the ball in my hands, and they made me play center. And I was like, now look at it. The whole game's changed. Now everybody has to be a ball handler in basketball. Anyway, I'm still a little bitter about that. You got, I know your nephew's still playing, making the runs through the minor league ball right now. Beat Boston College. I know we had Pete Frady's dad, on the other day. And I know there's that BC connection there because your nephew played at BC, and that story is I know sad and incredible at the same time. We obviously lost Pete too early, but he did such amazing things for ALS awareness and all that. Just when I say the name Pete Frady, just what comes to mind for you?
Yeah, I mean, with Cody, my nephew Cody was going there. I had the honor of meeting Pete at games, and I used to park in a parking lot at games, and now that parking lot is the Pete Frady's center, where the baseball and softball teams actually have a workout facility, and so now it's a true ACC facility. But just the impact that Pete had on the BC community and the visiting teams, every single game that he was at, both head coaches, both teams made it a point to come over and talk to him and thank him for what he's doing. So it was fortunate to bring my son, who was young at the time, and we sat down right behind Pete and his dad. And we were able to soak in a little bit of that, what was going on, and then my son learned a little bit more after the fact what that was all about. So
that's kind of how it goes, right? I told John that I was 10. I was probably just my first place out of college. I was living in Brighton. Ice Bucket Challenge takes off, and I'm learning about it. I'm in my mid-20s, and I just saw this stud athlete, looked peak physical condition, and I said, wait, what disease has him? And this is where it's going to go. And I remember being so stunned by it that I immediately Googled it, and I think a million people my age did the same thing, and not my age. But I think talk about raising awareness for something, unbelievable story. And I know John continues to do great work too. So I know you're got the BC connection, so I wanted to make sure I got that in there at the end. Go check out Newburyport sports this fall. I know you got a bunch of great teams being rolled out there. They always appreciate the community support, right?
We do, and we need it. Not only do we appreciate it, we encourage it. We want to see people not just at the Friday football games. We want to see them in the gym for volleyball and our field hockey and our soccers. And I'm happy to say that our cheering program is back this year after being away for a couple of years. So we're hoping the whole experience is a great experience, and our athletes feed off our spectators. And if we can cheer positively and encourage, and that helps us.
Absolutely. Kyle Hodsdon, always a pleasure, man, to have you in. Appreciate it. And hey, happy fall.
Thanks. I look forward to the fall wrap-up. Hopefully good things to share.
Let's keep winning some titles. How about that? Maeve Power, Sarah Hayden, our small but mighty team here in Newburyport, we appreciate you as always. Thank you for doing all the hard work. We appreciate it. My name is Drew Moholland. This has been Live at Drew's House. Thanks to Kyle. Joppa Afternoon Drive. We'll see you next time. Peace.